Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth.
This is not a riddle, but what happens when Mercury turns retrograde right smack dab in the middle of eclipse season? Well, friends, we're about to find out because Monday, April 1st, buzzy little Mercury is spinning into its first full retrograde of 2024, which lasts all the way until April 25th. And it happens to be taking place in Aries, one of the scrappiest, feistiest signs of the zodiac, and the very same sign that the total solar eclipse is happening 1 week later on April 8th. Does this mean apocalypse, pandemonium, life goes to hell in a handbasket? I don't think so, and I sure do hope not. But that doesn't mean we should unfasten our seatbelts and coast or stop staying alert. This is going to be an intense period, and I want to help you prepare for that and reframe. I'm Tali from the AstroTwins. Thanks for tuning in today. It is the week of April 1st through 7th. And here goes. Let's just start with Mercury retrograde. What is Mercury retrograde? Some of you know. Some people are like, what the heck is this? I just keep hearing it, seeing it used to sell everything from Taco Bell to, pet insurance. What's going on? And I'm not even joking there. But who doesn't like a good astrological hook these days, right? Mercury retrograde is, we've declared it the pumpkin spice latte of astrology. It's ubiquitous. It's basic. It's been co-opted by the masses, but we still know better than to ignore it when it comes. And it doesn't last long either. So there's, I was actually at a Starbucks and found out that they ran out of the PSL mix. I don't know. I'm not a big Starbucks person. I live in Seattle. You have to kind of slink in there sometimes. So I do think nothing wakes you up better than a Starbucks coffee. This is not a sponsored post. I will say, though, that I was surprised. I thought they had an endless pumpkin spice factory, but apparently not. Okay, I digress, because that's what you do during Mercury retrograde. You go off on random tangents and you don't know why you're saying what you're saying. So stay alert, because when Mercury, the planet of communication, passes the Earth in its orbit 3 times a year, because Mercury takes 88 days to go around the sun as opposed to our 365. So it's moving a lot faster, and it's like 2 trains moving at different speeds, and one of them appears to be going backwards. It's not literally going backwards. However, from our vantage point here on Earth, it appears to move backwards through the zodiac. So you can think of it as Mercury reaching a certain degree. There's 360 degrees of the zodiac wheel that all the planets orbit through, and there's 30 degrees of each. So once Mercury hits 27 degrees, 10 minutes of Aries on April 1st, it's like screech, and then it's almost like it drives back. It's like, I forgot something. I had to turn around and go pick it up at the house. And until April 25th, it's driving in reverse, or you could say it turned back around and retraced its steps until it gets to 16 degrees, 0 minutes of Aries. And then, okay, hi, I'm going to turn around again, and I'm going to go back the way I already started going. So that shadow period that people talk about is that distance that it backed up that it has to then make up again to go back to where it started, 27 degrees, 10 minutes of Aries. So that will be, I should look this up beforehand, but I was writing so many horoscopes. So that shadow lasts until May the 14th, which means basically have a month and a half of kind of feeling the whole retrograde. There was a pre-shadow period too. But I think the crux of it is really during the retrograde itself. That's when you really want to focus in. And how do you use a retrograde proactively instead of turning it into a thrice yearly fear factor? Because retrogrades happen. And look, I've been working in media for a long time. Those, when I began working in media, the only competition you had was print media. We didn't have social media. We didn't have blogs. They quickly came along, though. And what's beautiful about that is that anyone can publish. What's tricky about it is that it takes a lot more to grab attention and stop the scroll. So Mercury retrograde and eclipses have become the darling scroll-stopping viral trends over recent years. So, journalists need to make them scarier and scarier so you'll actually read about them. But I think of Mercury retrogrades, if we can reframe them and use them wisely as these nice little periodic retreats that we have the option of taking. You don't have to spin out into disaster, but you do have to stop, trying to put the pedal to the metal during these periods. Retrogrades, just like the planet that rules data, communication, transportation, mobile devices, that's Mercury, the messenger, mail, is moving backwards. So too do those areas of life seem to go in reverse. So if you have packages to send out, get them insured or maybe hand deliver them, and don't be surprised if maybe they do get lost. So if you have to order something that is a one-of-a-kind thing, you may want to wait until after. Custom ordered items, wait till after April 25th and then maybe even May 14th when the shadow passes. If you have something really important that you want to say, do not do it in a hot-headed moment of anger. So in our metaphor for astrology that we've been really having the best time teaching in our Become Your Own Astrologer course. So if you're a part of that, hey, we've been having so much fun, so many epiphanies. We started teaching it this spring and it's been great. So our metaphor is that your chart is the movie of your life. So the planets in astrology are the actors and the zodiac signs they're in are the costumes they're wearing. So Mercury is the messenger. And right now it's wearing the costume of Aries, which is this exploratory, fiery superstar and that wants to just go, hit the gas, the trailblazer. So imagine this trailblazing messenger suddenly hitting a dead end, a wall. How frustrating is that? It's got so much to say, so much to share, so much excitement to spread. And now it has to kind of put on a gag order and go and do some internal work. We're all feeling that. No matter where Mercury is in your chart, we're all under the spell of transiting Mercury in Aries. It affects every single person in the world, and it's retrograde. Could be a frustrating thing if you do the Aries charge forward, just push ahead and break down. You're just gonna, wind up with a major head injury, so metaphorically speaking from that. So don't. But what Aries is really great at is self-sovereignty. So this is a time to learn to maybe be with yourself in a new way. I advocate talking to yourself. I talk to myself all day, but I'm talking to my dog. So those of us who have pets, do they really understand us or are they just that projection screen? Let's be honest. But if you don't have a pet, I feel bad because you may have so much in your head, but give yourself permission to talk to yourself. And it doesn't just have to be journaling. Leave yourself voice notes. Aries doesn't have time and patience to write things down by hand. Things come immediately, but what I'd recommend doing during this Mercury retrograde cycle from April 1st to 25th is capturing them somewhere, but not rushing to share them. Now, what would happen if you were your own sounding board? I once knew this woman who had some major, overcame some major trauma by going for really long drives and just talking to her voice recorded in the car. She wasn't comfortable with the idea of talking to herself. So as long as she was recording it somewhere, she felt as if she wasn't Well, but it's, again, that's all a matter of personal choice. One of, my personal breakthroughs happened when I did Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, which is a great book for connecting with your creativity and might be a good one to pick up during Mercury retrograde. If you are someone who does like to journal and read and go do exercises, but one of the concepts in there is that you take your inner artist on a weekly date. And so, you just silence your devices and you go do something artsy. Well, I went to a museum. I saw a Diane Arbus exhibit, which was really cool at the Met. Or, I went for a walk and got a pair of cowboy boots. But one of the best things that happened, this was started out as a really boring artist date where I took myself to a wine bar and was sketching. And it was like, God, I looked up and I saw a karaoke bar with private rooms across the street. And I went in and I was like, I'll just go in for 20 minutes. It was the most awkward first date, but I wound up staying in there for 3 hours. And what could have been an embarrassing moment for me, but I actually still laugh about the meta-ness to this day, was the server came in when I was belting out Celine Dion's All by Myself. And she's an Aries, so maybe you should go sing a little Celine Dion somewhere. Or one of the other Aries divas are too many to count. Mariah Carey, Jill Scott, Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross. Get the Aries playlist going and sing it out if you don't quite know how to start talking to yourself. And, there's that Aries is combative. Aries is confrontational. Aries is in your face. You want to watch out for that this week. Do not just give in to that I'm going to go deal with it now energy. You should go deal with it, but that means first burn off that steam with an objective advisor or listener. This is not the time to make any sudden moves. Now let's talk about eclipse season, because we're deep in the eclipse corridor right now, the 2 weeks between the first eclipse and the second. Eclipses always come in pairs. And if it starts with a full moon, as it did with the full moon in Libra on March 25th, it's going to end with a new moon. So that's going to happen with a solar eclipse. The new moon in Aries next Monday, April 8th, is also a total solar eclipse. And so we're right in the middle of those two. Lunar eclipses, full moon eclipses, like the one on March 25th, deal more with matters that are close to home, personal matters, nighttime matters, private matters. Solar eclipses that happen, especially if they happen during the daytime like this one, tend to deal with more out in the world matters, the ego, the identity. Who am I in the world? And that is a big question. We're dealing with Libra, which is all about balance, finding balance with everything from your budget to your relationships. We're still in that impact. But as you realize where things are imbalanced, anger may start to arise. And you could find yourself getting really, really pissed off at people this week and unleashing, or maybe you already did that last week. You may have a little bit of an apology tour to go on, because what can happen is when we realize things are imbalanced, we don't always remember that we were equally responsible in many cases. Not all, of course. There are some, but we're not talking about those here. In a lot of cases, we want to be liked. We want to please, very Libra, and we want everything to stay harmonious. So we give people permission to take advantage of us. We don't set boundaries, and people might not even have nefarious intentions. They're just going along with it. Hey, she wants to make me breakfast. I'll take it. Or, they want to handle this project management. Fine. I got better things to do. So just look at where, give yourself permission to feel the anger, because we got to get it out. But Then also say, what are the new terms I want to set? You definitely don't want to go flaming anger all over the place this week. And it would be way too easy to do that. Now, that this is a time to see yourself in a new light. You might even want to look at where your north and south nodes are in your chart, because the eclipses do deal with the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes right now are in Aries and Libra. We have the north node, the destiny point in the sky, in Aries, and the south node, which is our comfort zone, the karma that we bring into this life that we're kind of moving out of. That's in Libra, and it has been since July 17th, 2023, and it's there till January 11th, 2025. So we're in the middle of it. And we're also in the middle of the eclipse cycle, which began April 20th, 2023, this Aries-Libra cycle, and ends March 29th, 2025. So the nodes and the eclipses are together. So this is something that actually we were noticing. We were doing a practice lab with Become Your Own Astrologer, and everyone was kind of noticing that they were being pulled towards their north node a lot, that we're having south node to north node kind of transition. So I think look at where your north node is, because that is maybe what wants to express itself. My north node is in Capricorn, and I've really been doing more work on business structure. The astrology world has changed a lot over the last years. When we began, we were huge Susan Miller fans and had a bunch of books by a lot of great astrologers, legendary ones like Stephen Forrest and Robert Hand. And, but we were, there weren't a lot of people we would talk about, and people were like, oh, that's interesting. And now everyone's an astrologer and, or at least knows something about it. And so, if you want to keep a career going, you got to keep reinventing yourself. And, that's fun. That's the fun of it. That's the stress of it, but also the fun. It's like, if you're meant to be doing something, you also have to connect it to the outside world. It's part of meeting the universe halfway. So your north node may be showing you where you need to evolve in a very bold, Aries kind of way. This is a solar eclipse. The sun is the main character in your chart, but it's being blocked out by the moon, which we call the best supporting. We've been doing a lot of work on this in Become Your Own Astrologer around, the planets and their roles. So imagine the light of the sun and the light you shine being covered up temporarily, reminding you of your, some of your emotional truth. Are you shining that? We'll talk about that a lot more next week. I want to tell you about a couple other things, not as, over the top as Mercury going retrograde, but also important things to think about this week. We have a conjunction of Venus and Neptune in Pisces in the middle of the week on Wednesday. So they meet up once a year, and they hit the same degree. These are the two romanticizers, fantasizers. So you will probably not be thinking super clearly in the middle of the week and want to keep your guard up a little bit, especially for smooth talkers. But if you're trying to stage some kind of over-the-top romantic moment, which isn't exactly always advised during Mercury retrograde, but hey, life keeps going. Venus and Neptune and Pisces together gives us a break to just slip off and turn hump day into whatever you want it to be. On the subject of romance and Mercury retrograde, one of the things that people talk about a lot is, oh, my exes are going to start coming back. That does happen. So retrogrades tend to bring back people from the past. And they, because Mercury is a social planet, and, your name could cross someone's mind. It rules the mind, the ment. So if you can't stop thinking about someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should call them, especially if things just always go back to the same toxic song and dance. Think carefully before you invite past people back into your life. If they agitate you, it might be that there's something about them that you really miss, or some part of yourself that got to shine when you were with them that you miss. So before you call them back in, maybe consider that. That said, this 3-week period is fun for reunions. Now, I got to say, Aries is the most accident-prone sign. So put your phone down when you're walking on crowded streets, or when you're walking at all. Do not do distracted driving. Be careful with adventure sports. This is not the time to take big risks and suddenly join your local roller derby team when you haven't been on a pair of skates since you were 6, Really think that through. Now, one more Aries moment is coming late Friday night at 9:00 p.m. Pacific, or midnight, the stroke of midnight on Saturday the 5th. We have Venus moving into Aries. So the sun is in Aries, Mercury retrograde is in Aries, Venus, the planet of love, is now moving into Aries just before the eclipse. Now, that will definitely take the edge off some of the snarly, combative communications. Venus is not that thrilled in Aries, though. It's in detriment in Aries, meaning it's in the opposite sign of Libra, which is its home sign, its native sign. And so, as you can imagine, Venus wants to share and please, and Aries energy wants to be pleased, wants to be in the spotlight. So we may all get a little bit diva-ish in love this weekend, which, if you're somebody who's been chronically overgiving, wouldn't be the worst thing. Just, again, mind that warning. The major warning of the week is, do not start flaring up with resentment if you created the imbalance yourself, if you overgave, if you didn't take care of yourself. Don't start coming in with the laundry list of how this person didn't do that and they're selfish and you're going to write them off and bye. No, there's a middle ground, and we always advocate for that unless there's something really sketchy going on and you just have to GTFO. That happens too. But that's this week in the stars. Buckle up, shift into reverse, and embrace nostalgia. Maybe look up some of your greatest hits. What are some of your favorite solo projects or activities that you used to love doing alone? It's time to bring those back and reprise them. I'm not saying that you're going to see me roller skating with a comb in my back pocket, but I'm not saying you won't. Till next week, friends, retrograde love.
As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com, and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.